In this video, we are going to preview UConn versus Duke, or as I like to call it, the battle for Sarah Strong's heart. Yes, Sarah Strong's looking at both Duke and UConn. Yes, North Carolina is in the mix as well. But in this video, we are going to focus on the matchup in the Sweet 16, which will include looking at what the evil computers have projected as the winner, as that's foolproof. As well, we will touch on the betting lines for the degenerates out there like me. But the main focus of the video will be looking at Duke's players and the potential matchups with UConn. But as always, before we start, if you like the content, then please give the video a like. As well, please subscribe to the channel, as really trying to grow the community. All right, let's get into this. Now, I am not really sure why we are playing this game, as the evil computer has already told us that UConn will win 71-61. So there you go, UConn fans. Go ahead and start celebrating. It is over. But the spread is actually UConn minus 8.5. The DraftKings money line has UConn at minus 440. And the over is 126.5. If you are planning to place a wager, which I don't encourage, some things you should be aware of. UConn has hit the over in 21 out of 33 games. As well, UConn has won 11 out of 14 games, or 78.6% of games where they have been the money line favorite. UConn is 10-2 in games where they are favored by at least minus 434 on the money line. So do with that information what you will, but I am not encouraging you to bet, and I would definitely stay away from this game. Now let's take a look at the common opponents that they have played. UConn started the season out with a loss to NC State. Duke split with them in the ACC. UConn beat UNC in their one game at home, whereas Duke split the series with them. Both teams played Notre Dame at home and both lost to Notre Dame. In addition, they both lost to South Carolina. UConn got the victory at home versus Louisville, where Duke lost on the road to Louisville. Lastly, both teams beat Syracuse, with UConn's obviously taking place in the second round, which was a close game. Duke went to Syracuse and gave them a good right thumping. The score was only 58-45. This was in February, but trust me, I watched the full game and it was much worse than that. They controlled the game the whole way through. Now, when watching Duke play Syracuse, my general impression was, or what they reminded me of, was last year's UConn team. Or in some ways, they're very similar to this year's UConn team, except they have a little bit more size at the center position with Kennedy Brown, who is 6'6". And then they have a whole bunch of guards and forwards, like players that are only 6 foot tall. Their defense and numbers are very similar to UConn, as they hold teams to 36% from the floor and 32% from the three-point line, versus UConn that's 35% from the floor and 28% from the three-point line. A slight difference is Duke has given up slightly more free throws at 570 versus UConn only giving up 438 free throws. And I suspect that's because they have a deep bench and have more fouls to give. All right, let's go through the starters. So as I said, Kennedy Brown is the center. She's 6'6", averages 8 points and 5 rebounds and 1.3 blocks. She's okay. She's solid. She takes up space. She can throw a pick. She'll get the occasional rebound, but she's not going to dominate you like a Cardoso or something like that. Jaden Donovan, now she was highly sought after recruit. It's her freshman year. She is 6 foot. She is very athletic. On offense, she is very raw. Like, she can handle the ball, but she can't shoot and struggles to finish. But on defense, her athleticism is really impressive. She had a block. They called a foul on her, but it was clean as a whistle. In the game versus Syracuse, she was a menace on the board. She got 15 rebounds as well. She was able to guard the Syracuse big, who was like 6'2". So I wonder at times if they're going to put her on Aaliyah Edwards. So I wonder if Kennedy Brown is too quick for Aaliyah Edwards. You know, maybe her size will give trouble to Aaliyah, but if she gets in trouble, then they might put Jaden Donovan, who's giving up height as she's only 6 foot, to Edwards, who's 6'2", 6'3", but her speed might be able to counteract that. If Edwards is eating up points at the high post and just driving by Kennedy Brown, that's what I would suspect they might try to do. The other three starters for Duke are essentially guards. So you have Ashlyn Jackson, who's 6 foot. She averages roughly 20 minutes a game, 6.2 points, 2.5 rebounds, and 2.7 assists. She can handle the ball well. Tahina Mayer, who's number 22, she's essentially their point guard. She averages 9.9 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, and 3.7 assists. She turns over the ball a little bit, like 2.5 per game. She shoots 37% from the floor and 28% from the three-point line. Guard Regan Richardson, who's 5'11", number 24, is their best scorer. So she averages, it's not that high, 12.4 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, and 1.6 assists. However, she can have games where she scores points. So in the last game versus Ohio State, she got 28 points. In the first round matchup, she got 25 points. Versus Notre Dame as well, she got 23. UVA, 24. But then again, she'll have games where she goes single digits. So versus UNC, she only got 2 points. So she's a bit up and down. I think if they need scoring, that's who it's going to come from. A lot of times they just share the ball around and they sort of all, around that 9 to 10 point range. Essentially, that's what their averages are, and they really rely on their defense. So with UConn on defense, I would assume that Edwards would be on the big, Kennedy Brown, Paige Beckers would be on Donovan. I think Ashlyn Shade would be on Ashlyn Jackson. Then KK would match up on Mayer, who's 5'9", and then Nika Mule would be on Regan Richardson, with the task of not letting her get away and get off to a good start. Now, Duke has a better bench. They have Camilla Imsbo, who's another 6'5" big who subs in for Kennedy Brown. So size is not a problem for them as well. They have Delaney Thomas, who's 6'3". That might be the other option to throw on Aaliyah Edwards. They also have guards that can sub in with Akona, who's 5'10", and Emma Cobble, who's 5'11". So overall, they are a very, very solid team that plays good defense. They don't have anybody on offense that really scares you, but they have a lot of nice parts, and they just try to get you in a rock fight with their defense, which is very possible to happen in this game. I would think the scary thing is for UConn is that they have so many bodies to throw at Aaliyah Edwards to slow her down a bit. I am very curious to see who they put Jaden Donovan on. I think they'll switch her around at times, like I said. I believe she'll have sometimes on Aaliyah Edwards to see how that goes, if that causes Aaliyah trouble. But as well, will they put her on Ashlyn Shade and say, we want to make sure that we know Edwards and Paige Beckers are going to get theirs. We'll try to make them as inefficient as possible, but we cannot have a third person go off. You need to shut down Ashlyn Shade with your height. In terms of what this win would mean for the programs, as I've said already, I think it's all gravy for both of these teams. They're happy to make it to the Sweet 16. They want to go as far as they can, obviously. With UConn, it is such a tightrope to make it to the Final Four, as if Edwards or Beckers gets in foul trouble or somebody has a really off game, there's just nowhere to go because they don't have a bench, unfortunately. Duke as well has to be happy to be at the Sweet 16. They appear to be a program that's on the rise under Kara Lawson, who's in her 4th year there. They made the second round in her 3rd season, and they upset Ohio State to make the Sweet 16 with the chance to get into the Elite 8. They have to be happy. Just in terms of recruiting, she seems to be building. They got number 8 class in 2022, the number 6 class in 23, and the number 5 class in 2024. I'd imagine that would go up if they're able to get Sarah Strong, obviously. When talking about their players, I didn't even mention, like, Jackson was the number 16 recruit, Akonwa was the number 27 recruit, Delaney Thomas was number 29, and Jaden Donovan was the number 3 recruit in the country. So it appears like they are gathering talent and playing well and getting the victories in the tournament. So it will be an interesting game, and I think it will be very close and potentially an ugly game, but I do think it'll be close, but we'll see what happens. Thanks a lot for watching. Your comments, your feedback, your poison, always welcome. Good night.